So I really wanted to talk to you guys about practice. And this is kind of because, again, I've been teaching this as a private lesson for quite some time. And I think it'd be really, really useful for just to have it for all of you guys if you hopefully can kind of get some value there. Yeah. With practice, this is something that I've kind of thought about a lot. I've implemented into my own practice. And a lot of kind of, I guess, my ideas and my approaches to guitar practice or music practice in general kind of stem from my master's degree. So I did basically 2 years of documenting, um, 2 years of documenting daily practice and basically experimenting with like how, what, and kind of trying to get the most out of my kind of results. Yeah. So they kind of say it's 10,000 hours to become an expert, but what you can achieve in those 10,000 hours is very, very different depending on how you approach it. So, for example, if you gave yourself an hour to learn a task, if you were smart about it, you could most definitely probably do it in maybe 20 minutes. And then you've got two more segments of like 20 minutes. So you could learn three things in the time it takes you to learn one. And if that's 1 hour over 10,000 hours, you could learn quite a lot, to be honest. So, that being said, this is all about kind of practicing smarter rather than kind of just putting time in, and kind of want to talk to you about a few ways of doing this. So this is generally going to be, so I'm going to do an example kind of breakdown of like how, for example, I'd structure a G4 practice session, but this does not mean that it's not applicable to all practice types. And if you've got any questions, let me know as we go on. And yeah, cool. So yeah, 10,000 hours, lots of practice. So I generally firmly believe, because obviously I've done a lot of hours now, and I've done a lot of experimentation with I guess time of practice, things like memory retention, and kind of want to share a few little tips for you. So I'll tell you what, let's just pretend we're doing a practice session, see how it goes. So the most kind of big thing for me, or the biggest thing, is that it is frequent, it is regular, every day if possible, unless you're kind of in the 5-6 hour a day mark. Then I think you should probably have a rest day and do 6 days a week rather than 7. But I firmly believe that 10 minutes a day just to start off with, to kind of get your routine, is going to be more than ample, provided that you're playing the right things. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to get up my whiteboard. So let's do a 10-minute practice routine, and I'm going to kind of talk you through the hows and whys, and we'll kind of go from there. Cool. So can I share my screen? Oh, I'm doing it. Okay, so this is my whiteboard, and we'll see how it goes. So again, this is something we've spoken about before, but this 10 minutes is what we call deliberate practice. Yeah, so it's where it's completely structured, completely focused. So if you've got, even if you're doing 30 minutes a day, if you did 10 minutes of deliberate practice, we would really, really see the benefit. Yeah. So say I was doing a G4 practice. I'm going to split my thing into two. Yeah. So I've got, I'm going to do it in two 5-minute segments. Ooh, come on, that's a straight line. So up here is the first half, and down here is the second half. So my first minute, so you're going to learn that I'm very bad at drawing in a second. So this is the first thing I do. I do a little warm up. So depending on what level you're on or what you're working on, usually a picking exercise. So if you're on junior 1, you've got six strings to go through, 1 minute in total. So that's 10 seconds down and up picking on each string. And that is more than adequate, provided that you're doing it with a metronome. Yeah. So actually, you know what? I'm going to write in text here. So I do warm up. Cool. So I'm going to say picking. Yeah. So I'm going to do this for 1 minute. 1 minute. So if you're on senior 1, for example, you've got 5 exercises there. Maybe you'd want to double up one of the harder ones, either exercise 3 or exercise 5, for example, just as long as it's deliberate and with that kind of, with the metronome. Yeah. Cool. So the general first half of my practice session is going to be all about revision. Yeah. Because this is kind of the practice smart thing, because we want to, whenever we learn a new skill, I don't want to just learn it for the day. I want to commit it to long-term memory. So, really making sure that I'm revising constantly. And what we're going to do here is we are going to rotate these skills daily. Yeah. So I'm going to have 2 little things that I do here. Yeah. So skill 1 and then skill number 2. Yeah. So this is 3 things that we were doing in the first 5 minutes. So if anyone's got any questions so far, please, please, please let me know and I will answer as we go. So let's say we're on junior 1. You've just started the level. There's not really, there's not maybe a lot of skills that you've kind of covered at this point. So cool. Well, I've already done my picking. Cool. You could do your next thing maybe on revising your chords, for example, making sure you're playing through each one. You can combine that maybe with rhythm 1 and see if you can play quarter notes on each, whole notes on each chord, make sure they sound really, really nice. But the important thing, everything is with a metronome. Yeah. So for example, let's just write in, I don't know, skill 1. I'm going to say chords. Yeah. Cool. And we're going to do this for 2 minutes. Yeah. So just really solid with a metronome. Whatever we're doing, we're going to work through those chords. But the important thing is that this thing is something that we've already done. Yeah. Because we want to keep refreshing our memory with it. Yeah. So I'm going to write in somewhere in here, maybe here. This section is revision. Not revision. So I'm really worried about making a spelling mistake here, but I'm a teacher, a guitar teacher, not an English teacher. Everything's fine. So then we're going to do another skill. So one that I encourage you to kind of keep coming back to. So skill 2, let's do, I don't know, let's do some reading. So if you're on junior 1, like reading 1, reading 2, like the F note or the G note reading. Yeah. No matter what level you're on, I'm sure you've done some form of reading. If you're really just started a new book, then you can revise your reading from the old book. Yeah. So, and it's only 2 minutes. Yeah. That's all I'm asking. 2 minutes. Yeah. So we've done 5 minutes here. Yeah. So we've done a minute of picking with a metronome. We've practiced our chords for 2 minutes, and then we've practiced our reading for 2 minutes. And for parents with younger kids, this is a really great way of doing it, because you never spend too long on one topic. Therefore, you don't lose the attention. You don't, it's very, very easy to kind of keep engaged when you've got timers set. There's kind of a lot to be kind of going on with there, which is really, really valuable. So again, bear in mind, guys, all revision at this point. Yeah. So the idea is that we keep rotating these skills. So just for an example, I'm going to get up a method book. Let's get up, I don't know, let's get up senior 1. So I'm going to pray that this is going to be here when I come back. Please be here. Sweet. Excellent. Right. I'm going to do a new share. Okay. So this is my senior 1 book. Sorry, do a mad scroll back. So it's really, really important. So if you've not kept up to date with your checklist, please check in with your teacher, and either myself or Mike, I'm sure, will help you go through it and make sure you're at the point where we think you are. But in the revision section, I'm only using, first 5 minutes, only using skills that I've already got the tick for. Yeah, because you would be surprised at how often I'll take a student through an exercise when they're at the end of their book, through something at the start, and no idea, completely gone, because that constant revision isn't there. Yeah. And when I'm actually thinking about what skills I have, the contents page is brilliant. You can kind of pick and choose. Obviously, there's a few little things in here that aren't skills, but most of them are. Yeah. So you've got rhythm 1, that's a skill. That's reading, that's a skill. Another chord, that's a skill. And you can just rotate it, yeah? And that's the kind of the really, really useful thing about this. You can kind of see your skills on paper, and it's going to be really, really easy for you to manage and just keep swapping those skills daily, yeah? If there's something that you're struggling with, for example, reading, you might want to, just keep that one as a daily revision thing that you do, and keep repeating and just revolve one of your skills rather than revolving both of them. That's absolutely fine too, because if you've got any questions at this point, obviously please let me know. But I think it's important to add that when we're doing this, we really want some clear goals in mind. We really want to have an idea of like where we're at and where we're trying to get to. And to do that, speak to me or Mike, whoever your main teacher is, and we'll really kind of go in and see like what the areas are that you're doing well at and what you might want to work on to push your playing to the next level. Cool. So that is that's the first section. So that's all revision. So now my second section, this is where I start focusing on new things. Yeah. So let me get some text up. So I'm going to write new skills in here. So this is all about learning new stuff. New skills. Cool. So I guess point 4. Normally here I do 2 things. If you want to spend, again, a big part of mine and Mike's job is figuring out how you guys learn best. So if you think, you need just a full 5 minutes on just one particular thing to really sink your teeth into it, just have one new skill. But I think I find it quite useful if I've got a couple of things, because if I start with something, I struggle with it. It's nice to know that I've done a bit, I've tried, and now I'm going to work on a different new skill, and just kind of keep it fresh so that I'm kind of both keeping up with what I've got and I'm pushing my playing forward in at least 2 different ways. Yeah. So number 4, this is new skill, new stuff. So not revision anymore. So I'm going to go new skill 1. So, and I'm going to do this for 2.5 minutes. So you might think that's not enough time to work on a new skill, but if it's reading, if it's a new chord, really just that focus 2.5 minutes, just really kind of, I'm going to get this chord down. I'm going to work on this. If it's a reading exercise, I'm just going to focus on this one bar that I'm really, really struggling with. Having that there is really, really beneficial. Just it's this focus time. You're not trying to master everything. We're just kind of really working on small little chunks here and there. Yeah. Again, if you decide you want to use your whole 5 minutes on this, go for it. Absolutely fine. Depends on the skill and it depends on you as a person as well. So that's any comments so far? Nope, we good. Cool. And then let's do our last one. So number 4. No, this is number 5. Good save, Jimmy. Nailed it. Yes. Excellent. Okay, so this is now new skill 2. I'm going to do this for 2.5 mins. Yeah, so here we have a very, very kind of flexible 10-minute practice routine. So if we're learning a new reading thing and we want to learn a new chord, cool, you've got 2.5 minutes to work on a reading bit and 2.5 minutes to work on a chord. And these can stay the same or you can rotate them, but it depends entirely on how you're getting on. But when you've mastered these skills can then go into your revision section. Yeah, so we're always rotating, because I had a conversation with a couple of students and asked them, when was the last time you practiced your reading? And I got an answer which was something really scary, like 6 months. And there should be no skill in your book that you've not looked at within the last 7 days, in my opinion, personally, because we want to make sure that we're keeping up with it. Yeah, by always recapping things, we're making sure we're committing it to that kind of long-term memory. Yeah. So say you've like, I want to do 30 minutes a day. I've got time to do 30 minutes a day. What's the point in just doing 10 minutes? Cool. Do your 10 minutes. And then the time after that is your time whatever you want to do. If you want to look up a song and learn how to do that, great, go for it. You know, you've already done your structured 10 minutes. Yeah. If you think, actually, maybe I'm absorbing more than I thought I would, great, double this up. So 2 minutes on picking, 4 minutes on revision 1, 4 minutes on revision 2, and then 5 minutes on 2 new skills. That's absolutely fine to do as well. But the main thing, if you start going for longer than 20 minutes on this, I would recommend having a little break between them, yeah, to make sure your mind is as alert as it can be. Yeah. So that's kind of just a really quick rundown of how I would structure this as a practice session. Again, any questions, please let me know. But for me, obviously, in my own practice and a lot of my peers and a lot of my colleagues, my revision section is actually way longer than my new skills, because the further you go as a guitar player, the more you have to remember. Yeah. So again, it depends on ability and level and things like that. But I do have a very, very similar thing whereas my skills are slightly broader. For example, I have melody, which includes scales and arpeggios and things. I have harmony, which is just like chord voicings or this, that, and the other. I have a dedicated rhythm section. But the main thing is that I've got my structure. I know what works for me, and then I take regular breaks between them. Cool. So that being said, another couple of things, a couple of points to kind of think about when we're doing this. When I was doing my 6 hours a day for 2 years, I had to split it up and do it at different points in the day. I could not do that in one chunk. That was a big thing for me. And just kind of understanding when you learn best, I think, is very, very important as well. So if you've got, for example, I thought I was definitely not a morning person, but turns out I guess I am. Just kind of measuring how much I achieve, I guess, based on the time of day that I practice. I always found that when I woke up, had a cup of tea, had a shower, sat down with my guitar, I always kind of retained way more information. I could practice for longer without having to take a break. And I was rotating, I was very, very focused. But if I practiced in the evening after I'd already done a long day, my mind wasn't quite there. I'd be recapping things and I'd be more forgetful, and it would take things way longer than I kind of thought it would be. Yeah. So just understanding time of day, maybe experiment with that, maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the evening, once you've had a little bit of a rest. There's no kind of, one rule for every person. You've really got to figure that one out. Ooh, Vicky's commented, revision is so important. It's good that you've highlighted it, as I know many students don't do it and end up forgetting basic stuff. Yeah. So prime example, guys, of why revision is important. I was classically trained and I did my grade 8 in classical guitar about 12 years ago now. And I'm going to move on to jazz now because that sounds cooler and it's more what I want to do rather than what my mum expects me to do. And to be honest, I just didn't look at anything. I did charts, I did things like that in jazz, but I didn't do any solid reading. And I went to kind of teach a grade 6 student, and I really struggled with the reading. And for someone that should have been at a grade 8 standard with a music degree, I was a bit shocked at myself that this is something that I once could do very, very easily. I'd not looked at it in maybe about 4 or 5 years at this point, and I had forgotten so much. So it's really, really important that obviously I've got it, I recognized that and threw it straight back into my practice. But it's really, really important that something that you can do well now, even just add it in there. Just make sure you kind of touch in base a lot. Setting up a practice schedule. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good point. That's what I'm going to talk about next. So with kind of setting up a practice schedule, for me, I don't have a very set routine. I like to be as organized as I can, but I don't really know when I've got. So at the start of my week, actually, I say the start of my week on Sunday, I look at what I've generally got going on, and I map. This is really, really, really kind of sad, and please don't judge me as a human, please, guys. But I map out the general sort of time by hour per day that I'm awake and active for. So I kind of set it from about, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I set it from 8, because anything pre 8 a.m. That's me time. That's either sleep time or I ain't doing any work before 8 anymore. But so from like 8 until 10 p.m. at night, and I block out each hour. And if I've got work on, if I've got like a social hang, whatever, I'll chuck it in there. And it really, really amazes me how much time in the day I actually have. And some days I barely have any time. Some days I have way more than I thought I would. And just actually understanding your own schedule and seeing when you've got time to actually practice is really, really, really useful. Yeah. So it makes it feasible, it makes it realistic, and it's something that I would really, really encourage. Probably don't have to go to the extent of mapping out your days like I do, but I have to do it because I have to plan in runs, because otherwise, but yeah, basically just really being realistic about my weeks. Like, when can I realistically practice? And if I want to ask myself, can I do 6 hours a day every day? Probably not anymore. Sadly, no. Got to take out the bins and stuff and go to work. So can't really do that. But again, if you can map out a time, where you think, actually, this is a good time where I think I'll be quite alert. It's not after anything too heavy. It's not after a long day of school. It's not after a long day of work. I've got a bit of breathing space if it is. That would be a really good shout. And I'm not asking you to spend your entire hour or whatever it is. If you can just start and getting in this kind of 10-minute thing, which you can then build on. So I think it takes something ridiculous like 60 days or something to actually forge a habit. But if you can kind of create that as part of your routine, it will really, really, really go a long way. Yeah. So again, as Vicki pointed out, and I've mentioned, the revision is really important because it commits things to long-term memory. Yeah. So this is to make sure that, anything you learn isn't just kind of cool, that's there, and then it's gone within a week. I want, you want these kind of things to stay with you. And when you go to grab chords or anything like that, it really, really, really makes things easier. Yeah. So, cool. With practice then, I don't know if there's any other questions from people, but I'll kind of keep talking because apparently that's what I like to do. I will have a sip of tea though. Wait for it. So we talked about a schedule. We've talked about kind of a way of practicing. So this for me would be an ideal one for anyone kind of starting junior 1 or senior 1. Senior 2 guys plus, junior 2 guys plus. If you wanted to do a little more, I would start adding in, you could maybe do 3 sets of revision. If you want to do 15 minutes, add another 2 minutes in, and then just kind of give yourself a little bit extra working on your new skills. So it's very, very flexible. But the idea is that I've got I've got 5 things. I don't know why I started counting. I've got it written down the side here. I've got 5 things that I'm doing daily. And the idea is we keep revolving them, we're really, really going to be good all-rounded players. Yeah. Because there's many, many things that, you can count as practice, but for this is deliberate practice. Yeah. So what isn't deliberate practice? Right. So there's a few things that I do that I don't count in my practice time where I'm actually practicing guitar, because a lot of things such as picking techniques or anything like that. So I appreciate this is now for slightly more advanced players, but I'm trying to cover all my bases here. A lot of the skills that you will come to do will just require a lot of repetition. Yeah. So lots and lots of repetition. And for me, if it's just an exercise, of just pick up, pick or something, whatever it may be, or a finger picking thing, I will sit and I will binge Netflix, but just have my guitar muted and work on this right hand technique, or I will work on this technique thing with my left hand, and just mindless repetition just to really do it. And if an episode on Netflix is 20 minutes, Cool, you've done 20 minutes just on one particular skill. And I'm not counting that as my practice time, but it's a way of doubling up things. However, if you have a partner or are watching TV with other friends or family, it can be very annoying. So just bear that in mind. If anyone wants to know how I kind of get things up to a standard that I'm happy with, I will tell you that real quick before I finish as a final last little bit. So whether it's a scale, whether it's a chord progression, I would stick my metronome on really, really slow. I like to practice things slowly because I don't think if you can play it slowly, you can play it quickly, if you speed it up gradually. But if you can't play it slowly, there's no way you can play it quickly. So start slow. A big thing I found is people just want to try and play as fast as they can, and it's not very neat, it's not very accurate. But really starting slow and getting that kind of the build up there would be really, really kind of useful. So when that being said, when I get something to a point that I'm happy with playing it at 40, I'll make sure I can play it at slow speed 40, then maybe a medium speed like 80, kind of fastish pace 120 or 100 to 120, and then a very fast thing like kind of up to 150 depending on what it is. So I take it through 4 speeds, and then once I'm happy with that, I'll pick one and I will run it 20 times. And if I make a mistake, I will start again. I'll make sure that I can play it 20 times without making a mistake. And once I get to that point, again, this is, I guess, for maybe more of you advanced players out there. Afterwards, if I've done that, I would then try. I've got a few different things. If it's a scale, I will be like, cool, I'm going to put an accent on this particular beat on beat 3 every time and do it another few times. But if it's something I want to play to a very high standard, I want it to be so automatic that I can get a book up open and I can read a paragraph whilst playing something to a metronome. And once you can do that, you've got the tick in the bag. Let's put it like that. Cool. I think that's probably my last little insight to share with you today. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I'll kind of hang on just for a sec, see if there's any questions. But yeah, I hope it was informative in some way, shape, or form. Practice regularly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be for long. To be honest, I would rather you do 10 minutes a day than be like, I'm going to do 3 hours, but on one day, once a week, because you're just going to forget most of it. Yeah, have a wonderful weekend. I'll probably see a fair few of you tomorrow. I hope it's still not raining outside. Yeah, that's the thing. I hope I can get to jam with you in person. Yeah, I'm longing this out now. I'm just going to go. But cool. Hopefully it's been good for you guys. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. So bye for now.